Good morning out there in the wonderful world of YouTube land and all the other things in the world. This is, what is today, the 5th of September? Just another update would be appropriate, I guess. Still consider this chapter 2. First month of driving. I did have my 1 week, or not my 1 week, but my 4 days of home time. Oh, before I get carried away, I have to say this. This is my disclaimer. These are my views and my opinions, and they do not represent the views of CR England. There, that's illegal mumbo jumbo. So, like I said, 4 weeks / 1 month. I did 3 weeks OTR solo after I did my mentoring and all that. Did my 4 days of home time last week. And then on the 1st, that Friday, I was contacted to let me know that there was a load available. So, just to go over the first 3 weeks of solo OTR. Actually, I take that back. Let me go back. There's a couple updates for those that are going to the Laredo facility specifically. I'm pretty sure this might apply to the other 2 schools in Utah and Colton, which is actually just up the corner from here. I'm actually in Paris, California, so just right down the street basically from Colton, the Colton yard. That's where I actually spent the night this morning. So anyways, the updates. Driving school. You can do the driving school at the Laredo facility, and it's a cost of whatever, and then if you do, I guess you contract with them, and then you have to work so many months with CR England. I don't know what the term is, but to do a certain amount of repayment of the loan, and then I think after so many months or a year or whatever, you can do whatever. I think they consider it paid off. You paid your dues basically. So that's one thing I didn't mention in my first 18-day video, whatever, my chapter 1, whatever, however you want to call it. So just the loan repayment is there if you actually do the driving school at the CR England facility. The other update I have is for the paycheck and the banking and all that, and I kind of rattled off on that 1 hour long video I did last time of how aggravating it is, and it actually it did get a little worse, but then now everything is all hunky-dory and my money is now being direct deposited to my actual bank. I did not mention that there is a bank they offer, or they have at the Utah facility, that during your orientation or training that you can get an account with them, and then they set up their direct deposit and everything. Well, I didn't go that route because I need another bank account, like I need another hole in my head. So, long story long, after my initial getting my account inputted into the app, waiting 10 business days for it to be approved, it disappeared. I called, had a few choice words with the FinTwist people, re-inputted my bank account information, waited another 10 business days. So this was going to put it at the 22nd of August is when that second time around would have been the date of approval, or it should have been approved by then. And I think by the the August 29th, whatever date check, whatever date that check would have been, is the actual time that actually direct deposited. So the week I actually started my home time. The pay cycles go from Wednesday through Tuesday. Jobs are needed to be inputted into the system, and all the paperwork and all that done by Tuesday. That's when the pay cycle ends, and then you get paid the following Tuesday, paid on a weekly basis. The other thing that, granted, cash advance is not something I'm used to. I've always had my money direct deposited, never had to worry about doing a cash advance. So while I was on my home time, I actually found out I called and because I was withdrawing money from the ATM, and apparently I can only do $1,000 a day and only $400 per ATM. Anyways, so that following day, after I did a couple of running arounds to ATMs, I called again. They said, "Oh yeah, this is the limits. You can't do so much, but if you go to any bank, you can do a cash advance." I'm like, "Oh well." Like I said, I'm not very keen on the cold cash advance thing. I'm not the smartest driver in the world. That's why I'm a driver, right? Don't tell it. Never mind. Anyways, I graduated from Twizzlers to Dum Dums. So that's the cash advance. I got the rest of my money that was on the debit card over to my bank account. So that alleviated any financial crisis I was about to go into. Okay, so that's the two updates I had, pay and loan repayment. Oh, and you get paid on the trips zip code to zip code. So for instance, I actually have the numbers at the end, but I think on the platform science, when they get you your jobs, that actually has the correct mileage you'll get paid. But if you do a Google Maps thing and do all that and do your route planning, you'll actually get a longer distance. Well, they only pay zip code to zip code. 3 weeks as an OTR. My first 3 weeks solo OTR. I'm doing part of the reason why I started doing an OTR, or why I became a truck driver, was for the TNA. So far, it's been I've been enjoying it. The scenery, the geology, especially here in California, Arizona, New Mexico, layers upon layers of rocks. It's just fascinating to me. It's very difficult to drive. Keeping the truck between the mustard and mayonnaise, as another driver somewhere else had once said, and not hitting other people, keeping the truck upright and staring at the rocks. Anyways, get to listen to my own music, so nobody can complain about what I listen to. My main would be the techno stuff. Dead Mouse here recently, Cyril every once in a while, but my techno is definitely my go-to for music on driving. But so far, over the road, my first 3 weeks, not too bad. Traffic in the cities is traffic in the cities. People are idiots. It's aggravating, but it's just to help me build more patience on my part. Other drivers, especially other commercial drivers, I mean, anyways, everybody has their own driving style, and I guess thankfully these trucks are governed, so that helps a little bit in some departments. Speaking of the truck, it does have adaptive cruise control, which is limited at 65. You put your foot in it, it actually goes to 63. And then when you have another truck you're trying to pass that's only doing 64, it takes about 20 miles to pass the other truck. So that whole governed 63, 65 thing, that's the way Sierra England rolls. So it's just getting accustomed to that. There's been some times it's very aggravating because, like I said, you have some other truck companies that either run 64 or 65, and you're actually running just maybe a half mile an hour faster than they are. And it gets frustrating quick. The truck itself, I'm thinking this one has gremlins in it. It's this International LT625. I think it has gremlins. I don't know. It's the ACC that the cruise control and the crash mitigation system. It can scare you if you're not careful, because it trips out like it thinks. I don't know. It's erring on the side of safety more than anything, and if you're not used to it, to me it's frustrating. Just working on my patience. That's all I got to do, right? Anyways, I've had to make a couple repairs. Back a couple videos when I first started, actually, I had a breakdown the air dryer, which I did call correctly, probably didn't have to get repaired, but after I repaired it, the truck actually had significant air loss. And I was actually timing it in my first couple of weeks driving on the road. It took, the compressor would cycle about every 6 minutes, and then it actually went down to about 5.5 minutes. So the air leak was pretty significant. Now I was parked, parking brake set, trailer supplied, and even with not supplying the trailer, it still had the same time frame. So it wasn't a trailer air leak, nothing on the trailer side. And I kind of figured it had something to do with that new air dryer I had installed. And so just before my home time, I had some time in El Paso on a delivery. I went over to the mechanic and said, hey, you guys got somebody good at figuring out some air leaks? Yeah, so I pulled it in the shop, and the mechanic actually, 2 of the fittings on the air dryer were leaking. So he replaced those, and then it was still leaking, and basically it turned out to be the ends of the tubing that are inserted into those fittings. And actually there's 3 of the fittings that the tubing, there are 3 ends of the tubes, 3 tubes, the ends were damaged and scored where it was actually leaking at the fittings. So he trimmed the tubes and basically stopped the air leak. So ever since then, at least that week after repair, my air leak went down significantly, and my compressor cycle time went to approximately 30 minutes. So that was definitely nice, especially since these trucks require the air pressure to shift, and having the truck shut off at 5 minutes, I'd be below 100 psi before the fix. And it gets frustrating because, hey, hang on, I gotta let the air pressure build up so I can move the truck. That's another thing bad about having a semi-automatic transmission, not having a manual, is you gotta wait for the air pressure to build up before you can actually shift gears. That's where driving a stick is beneficial. You don't have to worry about air pressure as far as changing gears go. So, air dryer was fixed. I was happy about that. Now, ever since I picked up the truck on the 3rd or 4th of August, the sleeper fan has been giving me crap. It would work sometimes, and the only solution I had to make it work was to basically pull on the red wire coming out of the blower motor and pull it tight, and it would work correctly. I could adjust the speed and everything, and things like that were fine. There wasn't anything wrong anywhere else. It was just the wire. If I pulled tight on that wire, the fan worked great. So I started shimming things in there to keep it tight. I had purchased some duct tape to pull on the wire and make it tight and everything. But eventually, by the time that last week, right before I went to home time, it didn't respond to me pulling on that wire anymore. So while I was there, where was I at? I can't remember. I was somewhere at a truck stop. I asked the mechanics there, I said, hey, can I borrow some T-bits, Torx bits, and a driver? And I was able to pull the blower assembly out of the housing. And I basically had to dismantle the whole fan. I pulled the end bearing cap off where the wires went into the end plate. And basically the brushes and the commutator, I think is the correct pronunciation. The copper dust from all that, from the last who knows how many year and a half of it, just non-stop operation, that dust has built up so much inside that fan, the motor housing, that it was basically shorting out. So I knocked all the copper dust out the best I could, blew it out the best I could, and assembled it. But before, of course, installing the fan motor assembly back into the housing, I plugged it back in, and sure enough, it turned right on, full speed, perfect. It's like, that was it. It was just all that copper dust was creating a short. I guess being an electrician in my former life, it kind of helped with my troubleshooting skills, because that tearing into that wasn't really that big of a deal. So that was a self-fix on me, and actually the company would owe me money for getting that repaired. Not costing a dime for a new motor, not costing any labor costs, so that should be like a bonus for whatever, but that's just my opinion. I'll never see anything out of that. But at least I have a blower and a sleeper now back there that it's nice. It definitely gets cold in there. So that's the truck itself. Home time. That was great. The only reason one of the reasons why I had home time, is like mandatory for me to be home that Monday, the 28th of August, I think it was, is I had scheduled my hazmat test and my doubles and triples test, and I had scheduled that I think sometime at the end of June before I was hired on. Had a long wait time at the DPS office, and so I figured I didn't know how soon I'd be getting hired, so that was the earliest I could get my dates for taking the test, so I had to be home that Monday. There were some scheduling conflicts, and they actually had, anyways, needless to say, I made it home 9:30 Monday morning, took a shower, and made it to the DPS facility and to take my test on time. I passed the test, did my fingerprint check for the background check afterwards, and so hopefully when I go home, once my home time gets approved in October, once I go home, hopefully I'll have a new driver's license with the X endorsement and the T endorsement. Because right now all I have is the N and T. So then once that happens, I might go and do the process of getting my TWIC card, just to hopefully down the road expand my job opportunities to maybe find a better employer. This is just a stepping stone as far as I can tell right now, because I don't know. If I can make it a year, we'll see. 6 months minimum, so that is if I go somewhere else, is how much experience you have? 6 months. But if I go for a year, we'll see how it is after that, if I can make it that far. What else did I do? Home time, so laundry I did there. Granted, as I live in Texas, grass was dead, no rain. My oak tree in the backyard that I planted earlier in the year, it was looking great. It was brown, but the leaves didn't fall yet, so I might have some hope for it yet. Anyways, grass is dead. I don't love that climate change, right? Laundry, I cleaned out the truck more. I actually pulled the vacuum out, shot back, and I got into the nooks and crannies in here and sucked the crap out of this truck. Yeah. Grocery shopping the day before. I was to come back onto the road. Cherry tomatoes. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about more about the food stuff, but grocery shopping, things of that nature, kind of getting the truck ready to get back on the road. A few more cleaning supplies, things like that. So it was nice to have home time. Now, since I don't have a family or anything, actually I was getting bored by the last day, and if I stayed any longer, I'd be like, no, I don't want to go back to work. But I need the money for one. Plus, it gets me, I'm out of the house. Instead of sitting at the house not doing anything, trying to find a job doing who knows what. At least I get to see the lower 48 in some form or fashion. So speaking of the lower 48, the states that I've gone through so far: Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, a skosh corner of Indiana up into Michigan, Kansas City. I did go through Kansas, actually, yes. Omaha, but not through Nebraska, so I don't really count Nebraska. Iowa, I said Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and now Arizona and California. I think that's so far what I've been, especially up to date, the states that I've been through. Okay, food. I'm still doing oranges and apples and bananas. Actually, see if you can see my banana. I don't know if you can see my banana hammock right there, but I had to devise a way. I don't know if that came out good or not. I had to devise a way of holding my bananas up, because this truck, some of these trailers we get, they vibrate like crazy, and my bananas were getting all sorts of bruised up just laying on whatever I had on the table or cabinet. So I had to devise a way of how am I going to hang them things or support them so that way they're not going to get all bruised up. So I have a strap with a shopping bag and handle through the bananas to hang them. Cherry tomatoes, if I didn't mention that already, that was another vegetable, fruit, whatever you want to call it, that doesn't require refrigeration. And so I actually have cherry tomatoes. So that's another healthier type food to have, especially when I'm eating my meals. Meals are still consisting of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and tuna on crackers, and accompanied by chips. Not the healthiest in the world, but it's cheaper than always buying food at the gas station and truck stop. Still doing the almond nuts. Actually, while I was home, I went to HEB and I made my nut mix, which didn't actually last as long as I thought. Maybe I should have bought some more, but it's just a nut mix I created back when: almonds, walnuts, pecans, pistachios, pepitas, and cranberries. I think I'm missing one more. Cashews, walnuts, almonds. Anyway, so that's a nut mix I'd made just to snack on. Rice cakes. Oh, well, I'll get that to you in a second. I have dry soup mix. I haven't done the ramen noodle stuff yet. That's got a lot of salt. I'm not sure if I'm going to go that route. Especially not an everyday thing. That is a lot of salt. I'm trying to be health conscious. I actually have cut out alcohol out of my life. I have gone to nothing but water, coffee, maybe tea every once in a while, but soda water is out. And try to do more low salt, lower sodium type of items. So the ramen, like I said, that's not something I want to go to, especially on a regular basis. Maybe, I don't know, maybe once every couple of days or something like that, but still, that's a lot of salt. Miscellaneous stuff that I picked up while I was home. I did grab some tools, so now if there's any repairs or minor repairs that I need to do, I can do it, which is actually kind of funny because out of the trailer that I have on me now, it had an issue with the tire inflation system, and basically I disconnected the tubes from the hubs to the tire valve stems to check the air pressure in the system to see if there was any leaks in the trailer tires, refilled them up to 100 psi. I had actually purchased the Glad hand and hose assembly with the inflator nozzle doohickey from Northern Tool while I was home as well, so now I can inflate my tires wherever if I have to. So anyways, that's another thing I had purchased as a tool. I brought along the little blowgun nozzle doohickey. So worst case scenario, I can feed the hose into the trailer and use air to blow the reefer out, but I have a broom for now, plus the broom gives me a little bit more manual exercise. But anyways, so the tools I picked up for minor things here and there that I have to repair, and storage containers, basically closed-sided, open-top type containers so I can put things into without them tipping over when I go too fast around a corner or something, and then my G sensor trips or whatever, roll sensor. But just to keep things from sliding and moving all over the place, keep things together. I also picked up a water kettle. I did get the inverter installed while I was at the Laredo yard when I first was assigned the truck. That's a $62 a month or a week, $62 a week payment. That's taking out of my paycheck. It was like a $745 total cost that you're paying basically the shop for parts and labor, and they had to install it, liability or whatever reason, I'm sure insurance, whatever. Anyways, it was a good idea that I did that. So instead of getting a 12-volt water kettle, I purchased the 1 quart from Walmart, Hamilton Bay or Hamilton Beach, whatever, 1 quart, 120 volt water kettle. A full water kettle will take 4.5 minutes, and if it's about half full, about 2.5 minutes. And I was reading some places where the 12 volt models can take upwards of 30 minutes to get the water to cook. Boil. And there's no way I'm waiting 30 minutes to boil water just so I can have my coffee. That's another reason why I bought the water kettle, is so I can make coffee. I could have went the coffee maker route, but I figured I'd probably get more uses out of it with a water kettle. I can do instant oatmeal now, which I do have. The low sugar variety, actually. I have that for breakfast items, and I also have the name drop Lipton cup of noodle dry soup mixes. And so with the water kettle, I can make soup, I can make the oatmeal and my coffee. And I use instant coffee. Don't have to worry about filters, don't have to worry about the granules, the coffee grinds, granules. Don't have to worry about dispensing, worry about trying to get rid of the coffee grinds. It's just simpler to me. I don't want to, I want to keep things a little more simple on the road. So that water kettle and the inverter was definitely, I think, a wise investment on my part. My next investments are definitely going to be a refrigerator and a microwave. Health. Exercise. I've actually set up a way to do a little workout routine in the truck. Let me do some moving around, but basically where the sleeper is, the bed, it has a plywood base in the international truck. And so I devised a way, because I actually started doing my push-ups on the plywood base when I moved the mattress out of the way. And so I was thinking about it while I was on the road, and it's like, how am I going to make a way to devise a system to do push-ups, or sit-ups, excuse me. Well, let's see if I can do this. So there is a PVC pipe, pool noodle, and a ratchet strap, and I picked up them freaking floor mats that puzzle piece together. And basically, I'm not great at this, but I put the puzzle pieces there. That's basically my PT mat. And then for my foot anchor, ankle anchor, whatever you want to call it, put a ratchet strap around the plywood. Use the pool noodle PVC pipe, and that's where I stick my feet under to do my sit-ups. It does have the storage underneath that you can access. There's my apples and oranges. There's the HVAC sleeper blower system. And then there's more storage containers that I purchased to keep my oil and crap from tipping over and all that while I drive. So anyways, there's my PT area. I do squats. Part of my regime. Just to try and do a little bit of staying healthy while I'm on the road. Exercise, stuff like that. Sometimes at these shippers and receivers, if I have the time, I'll go walk around the parking lot. Just to, heck, as drivers, we sit down all day and that's it. Sit down and drive. So getting out and about, physical activity definitely is a plus. Oh yeah, doing these long stretches. So far, I think the longest stretch of driving I've done is a little bit over, just a hair over 6 hours, I believe. Anything over 4 hours for me, my butt starts hurting. And these seats in this truck, I think because it's just so flat, they're there's no cradling of the buttocks, and I think that's what's causing me the pain in my butt. And when I was doing my mentoring, it was on my list of things to look at and get. I did get the lumbar support. Boom, there you go. That's the one I picked up from Love's. So far, that lumbar support, I got it. I picked it up on sale. I think it was like $9 something, $10 basically. It definitely helps. My lower back has not been hurting ever since, and my seat that I picked up was that one right there. I think it was like $20 at Love's, and it's the contoured one, the one that cradles your buttocks. There you go. There's a view of it, but it's the contoured one. They had the Goodyear brand memory foam when gel. This one is just memory foam. I opted to go with this one first to see how I was going to like it, and actually, it's for me. It's working pretty good. But yeah, just something to think about as you get on the road and start driving around some more. It's a lot of sitting. You try and make it as comfortable as possible. Stats. See if I can get you some numbers here. So 3 weeks, my first 3 weeks. My first week, going from the 2nd of August to 8th of August, I did 1,752 miles. Next week, from the 9th of August to the 15th of August, I did 1,047 miles. And the third week, from 16 August to 22 August, I did 1,449. And then the 23rd through the 29th, I did 2,525 miles. I think if I did my math and my paychecks, looking at my page stubs and all that to see my mileage of how much I paid, I think they only paid me 6,773 miles, and I've driven 7,508 miles. So there's and 11 loads as well. So there's that zip code to zip code thing I was talking about. So it doesn't account for any of the actual mileage to the shipper or the receiver. That's just the way they do things, so whatever. I think that's it. I can't think of anything else. Any of you guys out there for CR England, if you're going on for CR England, or heck, if you're another driver or prospective driver out there trying to look at getting into the over the road field. I'm not a professional driver, even though that's what I'm an amateur professional driver. I may be a professional driver by name, but definitely not a professional yet. I think that's going to take several years. Parking is getting better in these parking lots for the heck, even at the dock or at the truck stop. So I don't know. Definitely getting out and look. I had to do a blindside angled back in, and luckily the driver for me, the one that was next to me, he got out and he helped guide me back. And I must have set up correctly, because aside from doing one pull-up and I mean, I was within inches, maybe a foot of a couple of the other trucks in front of me. I was able to get the truck into the angled spot without a problem. I mean, granted, he was there to help, and he helped a lot. I appreciated that. That definitely helped. But yeah, it's just trial and error and practice when you can with these backing maneuvers. I know when I was in another truck stop somewhere, it was midday, and I was just waiting for me to go either pick up or drop. I can't remember. The Love's truck stop was pretty much empty, and I actually practiced blindside backing into the spots. And it's like, granted, there's like 3 or 4 other CR England drivers there as well, and the one that actually, as I was going in, he had gone in and get something. He was coming back out. He's like, yeah, don't ever do blindside. You know, it's not safe. This, that, and the other. It's like, I know it's not safe. I wasn't going to argue with the guy. I was just, if you have a chance to practice something and you have the room, by all means, practice, because you never know when you're going to be in a situation down on the road where you're going to be in a not ideal spot to back. And having that practice and that experience and working on that over time, you know, it's still nerve-wracking when you're doing blindside, because it is definitely challenging. But I think just having that little bit of practice and knowledge helps down the road if you ever have to get into that situation. But yeah, if again, new drivers or prospective drivers out there, if you have any questions or whatever, I'll try my best, and I'm thinking I'm going to keep this video definitely under the whole 1 hour threshold. But it was cool being here in California, though. I was hoping for an earthquake. It'd be my first one ever, but Colton Yard, that was kind of interesting to be in. That's a lot of trucks, a lot of Sierra England trucks. Woo. And yeah. Anyways, like they all say, keep the shiny side up and the rubber side down and all that hoo-ha. Keep it between the mayonnaise and the mustard. Yeah. Y'all take it easy out there. We'll see you on the flip side.